And what is dystonia? What isn't dystonia? First of all, what dystonia is to me is my lack of opposing gravity with rotational movements. So instead of counteracting, counterbalancing, I have to counteroppose. So you will see as early as a day-old baby, probably not a day old, you won't see it because they're in the NICU and they're traumatized, they've been all through things. But you will see a couple of things. You will not see asymmetrical kicking, or movements, I should say. And you can look at all this on my newborn movement assessment video. You will see more, again, I still say there's startles and spasms. This is not seizure based. They might become that, but this is where you'll see the high risk of that, right? If I do this, guess what? And that's where you see, again, newborn assessment, that's a fall. Right? So nobody wants to fall. What do I start to do when I fall? I start to brace. So this is where people start to say that this is an atypical ATNR. It's not an ATNR. ATNR is there to articulate the upper thorax. This is my kick stand. And you might see with some kids where they start to do this and this, right? But what happens when I go to reach something? Let's say I'm trying to reach with this hand, right? My left hand. And I go to reach. What this is doing is, and it brings me back to my back, right? So, but what happens is I get so good at knowing that, hey, I'm safe here. I'm not going to fall when I'm here. I don't want to go here because, again, I haven't learned balancing and so forth, right? I do this and that brings me back down. That's why babies aren't born with dystonia. They learn how to be dystonic. So you will see that kind of thing. Now, when a child has now a different function where they have compromised breathing, swallowing, this can come from flat head, this can come from lacrimal if I'm saying that correctly. There's lots of, again, when they're intubated, there's a paralysis on the vocal cords, low tone, high tone. If I have where I want to breathe and possibly pause, stop, swallow, we take it for granted. But for some of these munchkins, okay, breathing is first. If I have a choice between to breathe or to swallow, I'm going to breathe. If I have a high palate and my nasal secretions are just pulling back there, I might have to go like this to open up my airway enough to pull the secretions and swallow and breathe, right? That is much different than don't fall. And so if I'm saying though don't breathe, you'll see much more of that panic set in. You'll see much more of what, like these kind of movements that come in because I'm doing whatever I can to open that airway. You'll see it more to the left, by the way, to open that airway to breathe, right? So if I'm saying as a parent, come here baby, look at me, and I'm trying to breathe, and then it's like they're so stiff, they're so tight, and I try and move their head. Their little brains are going, I can look at you, I'd love to look at you, Mom, but I can't breathe. So, and they will choose breathing over anything else. So you will see the similarities, but to treat a medical-based condition, you cannot take away someone's protective responses until you solve physically and mentally that they know how to breathe and swallow in every position versus balancing and counterbalancing to the spine. If I take their kickstand away and you're like, no, baby, and they put them even in straight things, they still, now you'll start to see this because I'm just trying to balance and not fall. And they will find ways to do things to prevent the fall. So am I preventing the fall or am I trying to breathe? So we cannot treat both conditions with the same diagnosis. It might look like that to the general vision, to what you're looking at as, stiff, startled, this, reactive, loud sound, okay, it's dystonic. I get it, that might be it, but you cannot do things like SDR or something like that. You shouldn't be doing it anyway because you haven't worked on their balance or you haven't worked on their breathing. But to go out and again, treat a condition in a way when you just aren't understanding fully how that person or that child is processing those informations, whereas it's gravity-based response versus a physical, life-threatening response. My son had a sinus infection for 3 years. You know what I mean? Swallowing was life-threatening to my son because he would choke, gag, and he was just a professional vomiter because that's how he would clear. Again, that was his mechanisms. It is what it is. So that's how I look at, again, helping someone with functional movement, but you have to understand where that system's coming from. I hope that helps. Thanks. Bye.